Hey everyone, welcome back to African Historical Facts. Today we're diving into a tough but crucial topic, the African role in the transatlantic slave trade. Now, when we think about this period, the image of brutal European slavers often comes to mind, and for good reason. Their cruelty was undeniable, but the reality is more complex. It wasn't simply Europeans against passive African victims. From the mid-15th century onwards, many European traders operated almost as junior partners to powerful African rulers, merchants, and middlemen along the West African coast. Why? A couple of key reasons. First, the geography. The West African coast is notoriously difficult to navigate. Heavy surf, dangerous currents, and a lack of natural harbors made it tough for European ships to get close to shore. They relied heavily on skilled African canoemen who could navigate these treacherous waters and connect them to the mainland trade. Second, diseases. West Africa was a death trap for Europeans. Malaria, yellow fever, dysentery, you name it. These diseases decimated their numbers and kept their presence limited. They called it the white man's grave for a reason. So, in this environment, African rulers and merchants often held the upper hand. When Europeans arrived, they encountered well-established political systems and thriving trade networks. They needed the cooperation of African elites to access the goods they wanted, including, sadly, slaves. Until the 19th century, European military power wasn't consistently strong enough to simply take what they wanted by force. It's also important to remember that slavery existed in West Africa long before the arrival of Europeans. In many societies where land wasn't private property, owning people as kin, clients, or unfortunately slaves was a primary way to accumulate wealth and power. There was also an existing trans-Saharan slave trade. So, when the European demand for slaves arose, some African rulers and merchants tapped into these pre-existing systems. Empires like Dahomey and Ashanti grew wealthy and powerful by trading their fellow Africans at ports like Ouida and Elmina. Now it's crucial to distinguish between the forms of slavery. In many African societies, it was closer to indentured servitude. Slaves often retained certain rights, and their children were often born free. They could eventually be integrated into families. This is starkly different from the chattel slavery practiced by Europeans, where enslaved people were treated as property with no rights, and their children were automatically born into the same horrific system. Understanding this African complicity can be uncomfortable, especially for African Americans who still grapple with the legacy of slavery and racial discrimination. It doesn't excuse the horrors of the transatlantic slave trade or the lasting impact of racism, but acknowledging this complex history allows us to see Africans not just as victims, but as active players in their own history. Class, language, religion, gender, and ethnicity all played a role in who participated in the trade. By understanding this dynamic, we gain a more complete and nuanced picture of the past, without diminishing the immense suffering caused by the slave trade and its enduring legacy. What are your thoughts on this complex aspect of African history? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this video informative, please like and subscribe for more African historical facts. Thanks for watching.